Friends, myself Siddharth Chauhan. Welcome to Easy Medchem. Today's our lecture topic is to study about the human skull. In the previous videos of the human skull, we had studied about the internal aspect of the human skull. We had studied about what all the foraminas and what all the structures are going through these foraminas in the through the internal structure of the skull. There are so many foraminas through which the cranial nerves are arising. Today's part of the video will be covering about the human skull. What all bones are present in the human skull. So let's continue. So if this is the human skull, we are having almost 22 skull bones are present in the skull, which are divided into two parts, cranial bones and the facial bones. The cranial bones are having the cranial bones are 6 types and the facial bones are 8 type. So if this is the human skull is being divided into two parts, the cranium part and the facial part. The facial bones are 14 in number, and the 22 minus 14 are the remaining cranial bones are present in the human skull. So the bones of the skull are there are almost 22 skull bones are present in the human skull, which are being divided into the cranial bones and the facial bones. The cranial bones are 6 types, which are the frontal bone, which is a single bone. The parietal bones are paired. The temporal bones are paired. The occipital bones, sphenoid, and the ethmoid bones. So these are the cranial bones which are present in the human skull, which are the frontal, parietal, temporal, occipital, sphenoid, and ethmoid. And the remaining one are the facial bones, which are the nasal, lacrimal, palatine, zygomatic, nasal concas are present, maxilla, mandibles, and vomer. In these, the nasal bones are paired, lacrimal are paired, palatine are paired, zygomatic are paired, nasal concas are paired, maxilla are paired, mandibles and vomers are single in number. So there are almost 22 skull bones are present in the human skull, which are divided into cranial and the facial part. The facial bones are this is two 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 2 in number, and this is 2 in number, this is 2 in number, this is 1, and this is 1. So there are total how many facial bones are present? 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14. So there are 14 facial bones are present in the human skull. Total number of facial bones are 14 in number, and the remaining are cranial bones, with these are 1, this is 2, this is 2 in number, this is 1 in number, this is 1 in number, and this is 1 in number. So there are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 8 cranial bones are present. In total number of cranial bones are present are 8 in number. So 8 plus 14 are 22 skull bones are present in the human skull. The human skull looks like this. The human skull is having, the cranial part is having the 3 sutures are present, which are the coronal suture, sagittal suture, and the lambdoid suture. This suture is the coronal suture. This suture will divide the skull into two parts, the front part and the back part. This suture will divide the skull into two parts, the frontal and the posterior or the back part. This is the sagittal suture. Sagittal suture will divide the skull into right and left part. It will divide the skull into right and the left. And here there is a lambdoid suture is present. So there are 3 types of sutures which are present in the human skull. These are the sagittal suture, coronal suture, and the lambdoid suture. The sagittal suture will divide the skull into right and left part. The coronal suture will divide the skull into front and the posterior part, and the lambdoid suture is present in the skull. If you are going to see the skull from the above, it looks like this. Okay, this is the view of the skull from the above. This part, this suture is the coronal suture, which will divide the skull into anterior and posterior, front and the back part. This is the sagittal suture, which will divide the skull into right and left part. Okay, if we are going to see the skull from the anterior aspect, we will see the frontale. There are two types of frontales are present. Frontales are present. These are the anterior frontale and the posterior frontale. This part is the anterior frontale and this part is the posterior frontale. So at last, in the skull part, we are having almost 22 types of skull bones and 3 types of sutures are present. The 22 types of skull bones are being divided into the cranial bones, which are 18 in number, and the facial bones, which are 14 in number. And the total 22 skull bones are present. There are 3 types of sutures which will divide the skull in which are dividing the skull. These are the sagittal suture, which will divide the skull into right and left part, coronal suture, which will divide the skull into anterior and posterior or front or the back part, and there is a lambdoid suture is present. So this is all about the skull. We'll be learning the remaining part of the skull in the next part of the video. So do like, share and subscribe my channel and press bell icon for more notification. Thank you. Like, share and subscribe my channel to reboot your knowledge and press bell icon for all notifications.